Welcome to this painting tutorial. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to show you how to paint a Flesh Tearer Blood Angel Primaris Space Marine. This is a very simple color scheme. It's mostly just black and red with some metal accents. These Primaris Marines have a bit more detail than a normal Marine and take a little bit more time to paint, but they actually look much truer scale than their normal Space Marine counterpart. This is the first Primaris Marine I've ever painted and I feel it looks pretty great. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel to see more videos, and click the notification bell to stay updated with new uploads. I'm going to start by priming the model in black. For that I use Vallejo Surface Primer Black through an airbrush. You can use any other primer you like. I would suggest using black since most of the color scheme is going to be kind of dark. So this is a good way to start. The first step is going to be to use Mephiston red to color in the armor, and just avoiding the shoulder pads, the helmet, the backpack and the bolter, and the rest I'm going to just paint Mephiston red as best as I can. It's better to use thin down paint and use a little bit of water on your paint so that it runs smoothly through the model, and use a couple coats, maybe 3 if it's necessary, but try to not use paint straight from the pot and color in all of the armor. If you paint any other places that you didn't want to paint red, it doesn't matter, we can just fix them a little bit later because we're going to use black again. And for that I'm using model color black, and just thin it down a little bit with water and paint all of the places that are going to be black. Since the primer with a gun or a spray can never cover 100% of the area, there's going to be some areas that you would want to touch up. And because depending on the spray or the color you're using, they might have a different finish through the brush or the spray than with just a normal brush. So you want to paint those areas again just to make it even and to just make sure that it looks even and well painted. Remember to also paint the areas in between armor joints. These areas are going to be black as well. Next I'm going to use Leadbelcher, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the silver parts. This is mainly just a gun and some tubes here and there, like the respirator on the helmet. And maybe that's pretty much it. Maybe you could pick some areas on the backpack as well and do it as I did if you want. Next I'm going to use Rhinox hide, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the details that I want to be leather. And this is just the pouches here and there that the model is carrying. Any kind of strap that you want to paint with this color as well. I painted the belt on this model like it's leather, and yeah, that's it. With Zandri dust I'm going to paint the parchment and all other places that I want to be paper or anything like that. Purity seals pretty much just paint with Zandri dust. And this is just an overall base coat with just a little bit thinned down color, just as all of the other ones. And because this model is predominantly red, I'm going to use purple as a purity seal wax. You could use green as well, that'll pop up a lot. But I decided to go with a different color. I used Xereous purple, and just make sure to base coat this area. Next I'm going to use Nuln oil, and with this color I'm going to shade all of the silver areas, including the purity seal wax, and that's pretty much it. Just make sure to cover all of these areas with wash, and make sure to always shake the wash pot before you wash any area. Also, any paint you should shake them before you use them, just to make sure that the paint is well mixed inside. Next I'm going to shade the red armor with Agrax Earthshade, and with this color I'm going to use a fine detail brush and just try to get into all of the little crevices and nooks and crannies in between the armor. Don't shade the whole thing, just the shadow areas and the places in between grooves and separation between armor pieces, just to separate them a little bit more. And this way you don't have to come back and clean up. Anyway, you can come back and clean up with Mephiston red after you painted this if you feel that you use a little bit too much, and you can clean up and push back the shade into the cracks a little bit more if you use a little bit too much. But if you do a cleaner job in this step. You don't have to clean up at all. Next, I'm going to use the same Agrax Earthshade, and with the same color I'm going to wash the parchment on the purity seal and also the leather that we painted Rhinox hide earlier. Also, you could use the Agrax Earthshade on the metal as well if you didn't like the black, but because I wanted this Primaris Marine to look very clean, I wanted to go for Nuln oil for the metallics and Agrax Earthshade for the rest. When you're done, you can leave the model like this. This is a good tabletop standard that you could leave the model as, and it looks pretty cool. But I'm going to edge highlight, and I'm going to highlight all of the other areas a little bit more just to bring it up a little more detail. I'm going to start with Eshin Gray, and with Eshin Gray I'm going to pick all of the edges on the black and just trying to focusing on getting as thin as a highlight as I can on all of these fine edges. And if you go a little bit overboard, you can come back and use a little bit of the black and push it back again. And just try to get all those edges and try to do as thin as a highlight as you can. Next, I'm going to use Dawnstone, and with this color I'm going to edge highlight all of the blacks again, but just focusing on the very sharpest edges, just getting those corners where those sharp edges meet. Any place that you feel is sharp or in a place where it would reflect more light, you can just pick those edges a little bit, and that's going to make the blacks pop a lot more. Next, I'm going to move on to the red, and for that I'm going to use Wild Rider Red. And with this color I'm going to do the same thing that we did for the black, but this time I'm in the red and trying to do as fine as an edge highlight as you can, and just try to pick all of those edges. It's going to be the same process. This is the most time consuming step of the whole tutorial, but I think it pays off and the model ends up looking pretty good. And after that I'm going to use Fire Dragon Bright, and with this color I'm going to edge highlight the same reds again, just in the sharpest edges and the places that would reflect more light. For example, if an area is round, you can pick the very edge on the top where the light would hit, and that'll make it stand out a lot more. This color is going to bring a little bit more fiery red to those edges, and it's going to make them pop a lot more at a distance, and the red is going to look a little bit more rich and a little bit better. Once that's done, I'm going to move on to paint the leather, and for that I'm going to use Scrag Brown, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pick up the edges because these areas are very square. They don't have any folds or they're not round or anything. It's a lot of edge highlighting, and I'm going to pick those edges with this color, the same that we did as the other two steps. Next, I'm going to use Deathclaw Brown, and with this color I'm going to pick the sharpest edges of all of the leather areas and bring a little bit more highlight onto those areas. Even if color is very dark, you can use very bright edge highlights and they look pretty good. Next, I'm going to highlight all of the silver, and for that I'm going to use Stormhost Silver, and with this color I'm going to pick all of the most sharpest parts on the silver and the places that would reflect more light. In case of any roundness on like the bolter barrel, you can paint a line on the top and paint a line on all of the edges, and just make sure to bring a little bit more shine to these areas, doing these edges and picking up the brightest parts of the silver. Next, I'm going to do the parchment on the purity seal, and for that I'm going to use Ushabti Bone. And with this color I'm going to paint most of the parchment paper, just leaving a little bit of the old color on the folds and places that are in shadow or in between one piece of paper and the other, in the crevices, just to keep that separation. I'm going to follow that up with an edge highlight. This is going to be a Screaming Skull edge highlight on all of the sharpest edges of the parchment paper to make them stand out. Next, I'm going to color in the Purity Seal wax with Genestealer purple, and with this color I'm just going to leave the crevices on the previous color and paint the prominent parts with this color. Next, I'm going to just paint the lenses of the helmet. That's the last part that we need to paint. I'm going to start with Caliban green, and this is going to be an overall base coat for the whole lens, just to get that green going. Notice that I also painted the scope of the bolter. You can do that if you want as well. Next, I'm going to use Warpstone Glow, and with this color I'm going to paint the half front part of the lens on the helmet, and the lenses of the scope you can paint half of the bottom part of the lens. Next, I'm going to use Moot green, and with this color I'm going to just paint a little dot in the very front part of the lens, just to paint the brightest spot and the hottest spot on the lens. And on the lenses on the scope, you can just do a little dot on the very bottom, and that'll make a 3-color transition of green. That'll look pretty good. And to finish this model, I'm going to use a little dot of white. With model color white, I'm just going to do a little dot on the very back part of the lens, just to make a little effect like a reflection of light on the lens, and it'll make it look like glass, or a little bit more like something like that. On the scope you can do a little dot on the very top, and it's going to make the same effect. And this is the finished model. I have to say I had a lot of fun painting this model. This was a very simple color scheme, and this is a very cool looking marine. I think these Primaris Marine really show the color schemes, and they look very pristine, very nice, and a lot bigger than their smaller marine counterparts. They look very stunning, and they have the potential to be very nice marines to show off your color scheme and your painting skills. They look very nice. I'm very happy with the way they look. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it entertaining and helpful. And if you did, please like the video, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel to see more videos. And if you enjoy my content and don't want to miss out on new uploads, please click the notification bell. That way you'll stay updated. And if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next video. You stayed. Great. Thank you very much for supporting my channel, and if you would like to become a patron, there is a link to my Patreon page in the description below. Your contributions help pay for my work and keeps the channel going. A single $1 a month is more than enough, and you can cancel it at any time. If you can't, don't worry, you can support my channel by simply watching my videos and sharing them with your friends. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.